Good evening. Welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Kasumi Balachandra.
I'm Dishan Virakon, and here are your headlines for tonight.
A 5-member committee appointed to probe into the issues at the Jaya and East container terminals of the Colombo port. The port issue resolved after a discussion with the Premier. The President states that priority should be given to agriculture. A disclosure has been made before the Presidential Commission on Political Victimization that innocent public sector employees were pressurized by certain past actions of the Attorney General's Department. Daily COVID-19 positive cases in the US and India reach their peak.
Moving on to those and other stories in detail. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa participated in an election propaganda campaign of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna at Anuradhapura today. The rally was organized adhering to health guidelines. The first rally was held in the premises of the Nidahas Uyana near the Iriyagama tank at Tammanawa in Talawa. The President directly inquired from the participating public on issues that are being faced by them and engaged in a cordial discussion with them. The President inspected the Iriyagama tank and instructed the officials to rectify the lapses. Meanwhile, the Trade Association of the Tambuttegama Economic Centre donated 200,000 rupees to the Itukama Healthcare and Social Security Fund. President of the Trade Association, Sunil Disanayaka, handed over the cash to the President. The rally was organised by Minister S.M. Chandrasena. Former Chief Minister of the North Central Provincial Council, S.M. Ranjit, was also present.
අපිට බීජ පැකට් පහක් දුන්නොත් ජනාධිපතිතුමනි අපි අත්තර පහක් වගේන ඔබ ගෝයන්ගේ අධ්‍යාත්ම ශක්තිමත් වෙන්න රටේ සත්‍ය වෙන්න පිටරටින් ගෙන්නන්නේ නැතුව අපි ලංකාවෙන් නිපදවලා ඔබතුමාට මේ රටේ සත්‍ය උදා කරන්න අපිට බීජ ටික ලබා දෙන්න.
The second rally was organised at the Ihalagama village near Kalawautawulla. The President inquired from the public the progress of the reconstruction of roadways in the areas and agricultural activities. Thereafter, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa arrived at the Kadavara Devalaya near Vautawulla. This rally was organised by former Minister Duminda Disanayaka, who is contesting under the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. The third rally, which the President attended, was organised at the Kumbuk Savannah land in close proximity to the Kakirawa town. The President focused his attention on the issues faced by the farming community in the area, including the irrigation water issue. The President also focused his attention on cultural issues in the area, as communities representing various ethnicities reside in this area. The Kakirawa Trade Association presented the President with a set of proposals on development in the area, and the President inquired into repair work at the Ganadevi Kovil prelates of the area, and other clerics were also present. The rally was organised by Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna contestant Veerasena Gamage. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa thereafter joined in a public rally organised in the Galkulam area at Mihintale, which was organised by Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna candidate T.M.R. Siripala. The President engaged in a brief cordial discussion with the prelates and the people of the area and focused special attention on the issues put forwarded by the residents.
Now, the trade unions of the Colombo port have called off their strike action after a discussion with Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa at the Carlton House this morning. At the discussion, agreement was reached to unload the 3 importer gantry cranes at the East Container Terminal of the Colombo port. Three trade unions commenced strike action recently demanding permission for gantry cranes imported from China for the East Container Terminal of the Colombo port to be unloaded and installed. The 3 trade unionists had ascended onto a 187-foot crane in protest, and the staff launched trade union action in support. Subsequent to a discussion held with Minister Johnston Fernando yesterday, the protesters agreed to temporarily halt their trade union action. Thereafter, this morning, a special discussion was held between the Prime Minister and the trade union representatives at the Carlton House in Tangol, at which consensus was expressed to unload the 3 gantry cranes imported from China at the port.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has appointed a 5-member committee to inquire and report on the issues arising from the projects pertaining to the development of the Jaya Container Terminal and the East Container Terminal of the Colombo port. The committee is tasked with submitting a report within 45 days in liaison with the subject ministry and the stakeholders. The committee is headed by Secretary to the Ministry of Ports and Naval Affairs MMP K. Mayadunna, whilst the other members are Secretary to the Ministry of Industrial Education and Investment Promotion MPD UK Mapa Patirana, Secretary to the Ministry of Roadways RWR Pemasiri, Secretary to the Ministry of Power and Energy Vasanta Pereira, and Chairman of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority Retired Major General R.M. Dayaratnayaka. The committee will study the procurement process and related issues pertaining to the Jaya Container Terminal and will inspect as to whether cabinet decisions on the modernization and the enhancement of deep anchoring capacity of the terminal are proceeding according to the observations of the Minister of Finance. In addition, the committee is also tasked with probing into the importation of machinery before the Jaya Container Terminal was upgraded, the procurement process initiated without request, the cost involved, and the shipping of machinery before building the terminal. The President Media Division states that the Committee on the Evaluation of Development Projects at the Colombo Port is also tasked with studying the agreement signed by the Government of Sri Lanka with other governments, especially pertaining to the East Container Terminal of the Colombo Port, analysing the financial and cost-related outcomes resulting from the decisions taken by the Government and the Line Ministry and the Sri Lanka Ports Authority in this process, and identifying the responsible parties, and also presenting proposals on the development of the 2 container terminals in question in order to obtain maximum benefits through trade, marine, local and foreign investments.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa states that ever since the government assumed office, a group has been drawing plans to topple the government. Addressing a rally held at Beliata today, the Premier stated that he believes that the people will protect the government from such groups. The Premier expressed these views addressing the Joint Professional Society at the Sri Lanka Pudujana Peramuna Party office at Kirinda in Gatamana, Beliata. The discussion was also attended by Chairman of the Sri Lanka Pudujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Piris, Minister Chamal Rajapaksha, Minister Prasanna Ranathunga, former parliamentarian D.V. Chanaka, former Central Bank Governor Ajit Niwar Cabral, and Chairman of the Southern Provincial Council Somavansha Kodagoda. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said that when the heads of state of 2 countries sign an agreement, regardless of which government is in power, the agreement needs to be taken forward. The Premier alleged that the port they constructed was sold out, and if they were in power, they would have not left room to sell it out, as it is a resource to the country. The Premier further stated that plans had already been prepared and signed to sell off the rest, and this is also an issue faced by the government. Therefore, he believes that the approval of Parliament should be sought for these agreements, since all parliamentarians should have an understanding when an agreement is being signed with a foreign country.
ලංකාවේ හැමදෙරම ක්‍රිකට් ගැහුවා හම්බන්තොට ගහන්න දුන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ තමයි එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ ආණ්ඩුව ක්‍රිකට් බෝඩ් එකට බලපෑම් කරලා ඒවා නැවැත්තුවා. ගුවන්තොටුපොලේ වී ගෙනල්ලා දැම්මා. වී ගබඩාවක් අපහාස කරන්න. ඉතින් ඒක තමයි එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයන්ගේ මානසිකත්වය. ඊට පස්සේ අපිට විදුත නඩු දැම්මා. මුලින්ම යෝෂිත ගෙනිච්චා, ආව ගෙනිච්චා, කොමිෂන් එක ඉදිරියේ නාමල්ල දැම්මා. මේ විදිහට පරිගත්ත යුගයක් කවදාකවත් තිබුණේ නැහැ පහුගිය අවුරුදු 5. ඒකට දායක වුණේ අපේ බාහිර. ගිය පාර සජිත් එනකොට උගක් අපේ කට්ටිය සජිත් අපේ ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්තයාගේ පුතා එක කියනවා උඩ දාලා පිළිගත්තා. ඒත් අපි කිව්වා මෙයා වැඩි කල මෙහි ඉන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. ඒ වගේම ආය යන්න කියලා. අවුරුදු 5ක් හිටියා මොනවද කරේ කියලා සොයලා බලන්න. දැන් අපි අධ්‍යාපනය කෙරෙහි මේ දිස්ත්‍රික්කය නැවත පණ ගන්නලා ගන්න ඕන. පහුගිය කාලේ පළවෙනි තැනට ආවා. ඉතින් ඒ තත්ත්වයේ තවත් ඉදිරියට ගෙන යාම තමයි අපි බලාපොරොත්තු. උතුරේ ගිය අවුරුදු 5ට මොනවත් කෙරිලා නැහැ සංවර්ධන යෝජනා. අපි අර යුද්ධ අවසන් කරලා හිටපොන්නේ බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයා ඒක බාර අරගෙන ඒ පැත්තේ සංවර්ධනයයි අපේ පැත්තේ සංවර්ධන දෙක එක සමාන තත්වයකට ගේන්න කාලය ලැබුණා.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa also stated that although cricket matches were played all over Sri Lanka, they were not permitted to be played at Hambantota as the UMP had blocked matches at Hambantota through the cricket board. The Premier accused the UMP of having such a mentality. He pointed out that the UMP stored paddy at the Mattal airport and filed lawsuits against him and his sons to gain revenge.
වැඩ නොකරන්න බැරි වෙන විදිය පාර්ලිමේන්තුවක් තිබුණොත් ඒකේ පාඩුව වෙන්නේ රටේ ජනතාවට. ජනාධිපතිවරයා ජයග්‍රහණය කරා වගේම පාර්ලිමේන්තුව ජනාධිපතිවරයා නියෝජනය කරන දේශපාලන පක්ෂයට ලබා දෙන එක තමයි කළ යුත්තේ කියලා විශ්වාස කරනවා.
Now a team of the CID have reportedly visited the official residence of the UMP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe to obtain a statement with regard to the central bank bond scam. The Attorney General on the 18th of June had instructed the acting IGP to obtain statements from former President Maithripala Sirisena and former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe pertaining to the central bank bond scam. In addition, the acting IGP was also instructed to obtain statements from former Prime Ministerial Advisor S. Paskaralingam and another former central bank official. Thereby, the CID recorded a statement from former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe for around 4 hours from 3 p.m. today.
Moving on to more local stories, Chairman of the committee appointed to evaluate the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Agreement or MCC agreement, Professor Lalitha Sirigunaruwan, states that the MCC agreement should be rejected unconditionally. Speaking at a media briefing held at the Department of Government Information today, Professor Gunaruwan pointed out that no specific procedure in accordance with the basic law of the country can be observed in the agreement.
There has been a statement made somewhere that the committee has lied and there was no previous engagements with MCC or whatever, previous monetary commitments with IMF or whatever. But here are the photographs of those agreements which have been signed. One is in 2017 and the other one is in 2018. The first one is for grant and implementation agreement with MCC signed by the Secretary Treasury Mr. Samaratunga for $7.4 million a grant, apparently for preparing the project. And then within a year, this has been topped up to 10 million by giving an additional supplement of 2.6 million. So we immediately, the committee observed this, we immediately asked from the relevant agency in the government of Sri Lanka, which is External Resources Department. Now, why this topping up? What has happened to the first grant? You don't ask for a topping up if the first grant, what has happened to the first grant is unknown. So that is normal, that is natural. There may be reasons, but then tell us why it has not been spent and why you enhance it again. External Resources Department was unable to give us any explanation to that, and they did not have any record to that. 7.4 million, whether it has come, whether it has not come, if it has come, where has it gone, and how much is remaining, how much is left, nothing. So without knowing any of those things, we asked ERD, why did you agree for another top up of 2.6? For that, there was no answer. Without knowing, without being able to perceive what has happened to the first grant. So we are surprised that another thing has come up that way. That's all we have said. We have never said that the government has collected cash on that. Now the question is, if the cash has not come, anyway, now apparently some corners they have said that no money has been given, no money has been received. No. Now, if the money has not been spent, then you as rational people would immediately ask a question, okay, then the purpose of that money would not probably have been achieved, right? Because money has not been received. So if the money was earmarked to prepare, what are we to conclude? Money has not been spent, so bride is not ready. Why the cabinet is giving approval to sign the marriage without knowing whether the Manamali is ready? Isn't it a natural question to ask? So what committee has done is simply asking those questions, that's all. So this is basically what we saw as anti-constitutional and anti-structural with respect to Sri Lankan legal setting. Right? So we have proposed, we have recommended finally that this has not been properly prepared. So with this proposal, no way. And if you ever think of getting married, select the bride well, study her, get the permissions with their owners, and then make sure that this is what you are going to do, and then go and sign it. So basically, එහෙම කරන්න නැතුව මේ වැඩේ කරන්න එපා කියලා තමයි we have proposed to the government of Sri Lanka.
Chairman of the Presidential Commission on Political Victimization, former Supreme Court Justice Upali Abeyratne states that innocent public sector employees were pressurized by certain past actions of the Attorney General's Department. The former Supreme Court Justice made this observation during the evidence hearing before the Commission today pertaining to lawsuits being filed and an arrest being made based on fabricated charges alleged to have been filed by the FCID pertaining to 2 Divinaguma projects. The recording of evidence took place for the second day today as a result of a complaint filed by Dr. Nihal Jayathilaka pertaining to his arrest and imprisonment in connection with charges levelled against him in a case filed by the FCID on alleged fabricated charges in connection with 2 projects of the Divi Neguma Department launched under the Ministry of Economic Development. Testifying before the Commission, Dr. Jayathilaka stated that the Divi Neguma Department was established together with 2 other authorities and departments, including the Samurdhi Authority, and employees who were willing to resign were given the opportunity to leave under 4 alternatives. Thereby, the Director General of the Divi Neguma had requested for financial allocations from the Treasury through him, as he was the Secretary to the relevant ministry. However, the money was not granted. The money requested was an estimated sum of 1,700 million rupees to be paid as compensation and gratuity on behalf of 1,588 employees. Dr. Nihal Jayathilaka further stated that thereafter, from the Treasury upon replenishment basis, the Department of Divinaguma decided to pay the money from the funds of beneficiaries of the Divinaguma community-based banking network. Dr. Jayathilaka added that he did not hinder with the process as it was a legitimate procedure. Dr. Nihal Jayathilaka further stated that after the good governance regime came to power in 2015, he had to visit the FCID around 15 times, and it became evident to him that details were being queried with the intention of entangling former Minister of Economic Development Basil Rajapaksa with the charges. He further stated that the responsibility of a ministry secretary is to implement the policy decisions taken by the minister, and pointed out that the FCID questioned him exceeding this policy factor.
Now, the Civil Aviation Authority has stepped into authorizing drone operations carried out on a humanitarian basis. As an initiation, the authority has awarded authorization certifications to 19 drone operators. Measures have been taken in order to manage drone operations in Sri Lanka adhering to international standards. Prevention of dengue, wildlife conservation, elephant-human conflict disaster management are some of the operations which are expecting to be used for drone technology. Further, drones are used to transportation of goods, disinfecting, public announcements from air, and measuring human body temperatures. As from the 89 applicants, chosen 19 operators have been awarded with the right certification from the Civil Aviation Authority. The awarding ceremony was held at the authority under the patronage of the chairman, Mr. Upul Dhammadasa, and officials.
In January, we had approximately 500 drones registered with the Civil Aviation Authority. Then I thought, if you can bring this number to 10,000 someday, then we created an industry where employment, trade, training, along with the opportunity to create various unrelated businesses such as catering, transport, telecommunication, trade magazines, and help in numerous industries.
Now, the funeral of deceased veteran children's author Sibyl Wethersinger was carried out today with the participation of many people. A huge number of people participated today as well to pay their last tribute to the body, which remained at a private funeral parlour in Colombo. The body has been taken to the public cemetery in Borello from the parlour in the evening today. The funeral has been done with the participation of the close relatives, artists, media personnel and many more people. Sibyl Wethersinger was beloved within the children as Sibyl Nanda, as a writer of children's stories and a talented artist. She has gifted more than 230 children's stories for the nation. She has been able to honor locally and internationally with a style inherent to herself. She has been able to stand on the top 50 artists in the world. A condolence message has been delivered by the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, stating she was a writer who gifted a Sri Lankan uniqueness in children's literature in the world. The President further stated that from her experimental creations, she has been able to develop good disciplines throughout the nation's children. Further, he stated that her translated creations throughout the world, which helped with the uplifting of children's literature, is a great honor to our nation. Prime Minister Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa stated that the decease of Miss Sibyl Wethersinger is a loss we couldn't tolerate as a country.
8 years ago today, designer of the state emblem Pura Vidya Chakravarti S.M. Senviratna bid farewell to the nation. Kalapati Kalabhushana Senviratna was also the former Assistant Commissioner of Archaeology. Skilled artist S.M. Senviratna has gifted many indelible creations to the nation. Born in Kegaul, he sharpened his skill in art and is credited for designing the official emblems of around 15 government and non-governmental institutions. The state emblem was designed by S.M. Senviratna after Sri Lanka was declared a republic in 1972. He also created emblems of special designs for institutions such as the University of Colombo, the Colombo Museum and the Department of Archaeology. Conservation of the Kuttampokuna and designing the golden rails of the Jayasri Ma Bodhiya were all amongst his plans as well for the conservation of numerous places of archaeological significance. His contributions in designing covers for many books on archaeology are a special feature. Subhasingha Mudiyanselage Senviratna passed away at the age of 91 after rendering an indispensable service to the country.
Now, in more local stories, the number of totally recovered COVID-19 patients in the country has exceeded 90%, with 1,863 full recoveries being reported. Meanwhile, one COVID-19 positive patient was reported in the country today. 36 fully recovered patients were discharged from their respective hospitals today, according to the report issued by the Epidemiology Unit. As at 10 a.m. today, within the past 24 hours, 12 COVID-19 contracted persons were detected in the country yesterday, out of which 5 were returnees from Qatar, 5 from Kuwait and 2 from India. One of the returnees from India is a Sri Lanka Coast Guard. He was subjected to 14 days of compulsory quarantine, and at the completion of the quarantine period, the PCR test that was conducted returned negative. Subsequently, he was subjected to another 14-day quarantine period at his residence at Jinithudipitia at Colombo 13, and the PCR test conducted then returned positive.
From a raid carried out by Sri Lanka Navy between Mandathivu Island and Kalmunithuduwa at Jaffna, they have been able to find around 400 kilograms of cannabis. The operation was carried out in the dawn today. The operation was carried out by the Northern Naval Brigade. The bulk was being transported from an Indian boat. Suspects have thrown the cannabis to the ocean and escaped by swimming once the Navy reached. Navy stated that a special operation has been launched to find the suspects. Out of the thrown parcels, Navy has been able to find 12 parcels, and after investigations, they found out that they were packed in 168 small parcels. Out of the operations carried out by Police Special Task Force Jaffna, one suspect has been caught. Further, the Navy stated that the market value of the relevant cannabis bulk was around 60 million rupees. Taking a look at more foreign stories, French Prime Minister Edouard Philippe has tendered his resignation after heading President Emmanuel Macron's government for 3 years. The president swiftly named centre-right Mayor Jean Castex to lead a new team of ministers after a reshuffle.
Now in sports, investigations underway into an alleged match fixing at the 2011 World Cup finals have come to a close due to insufficient evidence. India qualified to play Sri Lanka at the 2011 World Cup finals. The match was played at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. Batting first, Sri Lanka scored 274 runs. Chasing the target, India hit 277 runs in 48.2 overs, claiming the 2011 World Cup crown. The inquiry was carried out by the Police Special Investigation Division on Sports Offences under the directorship of SSP Jagat Fonseca. The Investigation Division first summoned then Chairman of the Cricket Selections Committee, Aravinda De Silva, for statements to be recorded. Thereafter, a statement was recorded from opening batsman of the 2011 Grand Final, Upul Taranga. Captain of the Sri Lanka squad that featured in the 2011 World Cup final, Kumar Sangakkara, recorded a statement yesterday. Today, Mahela Jayawardena was summoned. The Police Special Investigation Division on Sports Offences decided to close the investigation today. And that's a wrap of tonight's Primetime News. Until we meet again next time, do take care, stay safe and good night.
Good night.